Hello, everyone. As we've, if you guys have not seen part one to our end of season special, it's basically just the first bit is just a season review. Basically, we try to get through a bunch of categories for the season and just give our brief thoughts on the 22-23 championship season that we've had. But suffice this, but I will not spoil our thoughts because I want you to go and watch it to earn me some ad revenue. But anyway, obviously that's a joke. But yeah. Obviously, Thane is back with me again. So this one's kind of more of a general chat, I think, where we're going to go through over a couple of points and sort of assess where we feel we are going forward. But as I'll pretend I haven't already asked you this about half an hour ago at the time of recording, how are you doing?
Oh yeah. So, since last time, Michael, and that I am completely fine, and that's like happy to be here. And how are you doing, like from last time?
Since the last time, which was 10 minutes ago. But when I upload this, it'll probably be a few days apart. But no, I'm doing all right. At the time of recording, summer weather's been going ridiculously well, and hopefully that continues over the next few weeks. Because to try and help lose a bit of weight and also to help me mental health out, it's nice to get on long walks when the weather's nice and maybe go on long walks with friends and just chat general crap, more or less. But anyway, I'll quickly say, obviously, I should have said this in the last video, but I didn't think to. If you're not a big fan of swearing, there's a good chance either one of us might end up swearing a little bit. Because when Thane had his channel before he left YouTube, I swore quite heavily on his channel. So it's not fair of me to expect him to be PG on this one. So we shall see how this goes. But if you're not a fan of swearing, there's your heads up and there's your warning. And as you guys know, again, as I keep on saying, 58% of people who watch, according to the analytics, are not subscribed. So if you think I've earned a subscription from you after watching this video, hit the like button and subscribe. That would be absolutely a class. And yeah, we want to reach 5k subs, and we'll see how long it takes. But anyway, let's go on. So last video we addressed the whole season, so we're going to try and keep that down to a minimum. But let's get through some general topics. Let's start with the big one that I think most Sunderland fans are going to be absolutely buzzing with and having parties in the streets with. Netflix is going to have another season of Sunderland. No. The main news is that Stewart Donald has sold his 9% shares and has officially left Sunderland. So it means that Kale Louis-Dreyfus, if I've got this right, has got 64% of the club, and Juan Sartori has got 36% of the club. Right, go on, Thane. Take it away. What's your thoughts amidst this news that has been so well received by Sunderland fans?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it had to happen. I mean, I know like we spoke about this like last time, and I know we spoke about it a little bit like off air as well. But unlike a lot of people and that, I do not hate Stewart Donald as a person or anything. I do think
me neither.
Yeah, I think he probably did have the right intentions and that, but I mean, obviously much better bloke than what like Charlie Method is. I mean, Christ, he just wants all the limelight and everything, and that prick. But
I mean, that doesn't take much. He's just a tool in itself, isn't it? Salmon pants.
Exactly, yeah, salmon pants and that. But obviously, in the words of Terry and that, Donald Duck not as bad as Charlie Method, but I think the biggest problem is it's just a massive jump. Like, how can you fulfill everything you're saying that you're going to do with a club when you go from Eastleigh to Sunderland? It's a big jump. It's a really big jump, and obviously didn't have the money to run this football club, and it showed in purchasing the club with parachute payments as well. But I think he did have the best interests at heart, but just wasn't the right person to run a massive football club. And because he was part of like a failed regime, I think it is like for the best interest of that, like obviously for the club going forward, that he has officially gone now. And to be honest, I do wish him all the best at Eastleigh and that. I hope he does well there. I've got nothing against the man, but my only little problem now, and I know I mentioned this like last time as well, it still pisses us off right now, but Sartori's still here, and that just got more stakes. And that man, for me, that man has actually been the worst of the three, in my opinion. That because that man has promised a lot, hasn't delivered, hasn't practically done anything apart from get pissed in Trafalgar Square with the fans, or like what Michael
on Netflix, remember?
But yeah, like obviously like smiles on Netflix as well. So he hasn't really done like much. But now that Donald's gone, is that going to change? Obviously, like only time will tell and that. But obviously, the jury's still out with KLD for me. But I am willing to give him a chance because his first full season as owner, we got promoted, so you can't really complain. And that obviously last season we finished in the top 6, which is good. But obviously, going forward, we do like need to see how they do on like financially and that in terms of like recruitment and obviously like when it comes to like selling players and reinvesting, if like fair enough. But Sartori, nah, like
you're not his biggest fan, are you?
No, I personally feel like there is a big shareholder out there that would be probably perfect to like work with KLD, and I think Sartori might be just like holding that back, and that's just what I think. And that, but anyway, ultimately going back to Donald, it is like obviously like good that he has gone, but I do wish him all the best. But unfortunately, I just don't think it was ever going to work because obviously the club was too big for him.
I think with Donald, and Jam Sony did a video on this, and I think he made a comment that I think he said that if you, in his opinion, if you felt that Donald had the best of intentions, he felt you were a bit deluded. And I kind of get what he means because there are things Donald did that were, I mean, buying the club with the parachute money is very shaky. I have to be honest, that's very, very shoddy.
And the Will Grigg saga as well, that was ridiculous.
Now, see, for me, it was ridiculous the money we paid, but I think I will defend Donald to the hilt on that because what's people's alternative? We didn't sign a striker and we don't go up anyway.
True.
If we didn't get Will Grigg, the backlash he would have got would have been relentless. I think a lot of people need to remember that.
I think you can kind of say like, but you can see both sides of that argument.
No, I can. But at the same time, another point, Will Grigg. I'm not going to have anyone tell us different. Will Grigg should have been a good signing. I'm not going to have, he should have been. The facts speak for themselves. You can say, oh, he didn't want to be here, he didn't fit in the Sun Club. Well, I don't really care. Will Grigg should have been a good signing for Sunderland. For me, that's on the shoulders of Will Grigg's performance levels, not Stewart Donald. But for me, I'm with you. I don't hate Donald as much as a lot of other people do. The thing that I'm kind of relieved about most that he's gone is every time Donald's name came up on social media, within the fan base, it resulted in a lot of petty squabbling where if you don't think they are the scum and the worst of the earth, then you're deluded and you're just tricked by a con man or anything of that stuff. There's no leeway, there's no middle ground, there's no embracing the possibility that other people might not hate Donald. I think a lot of fans need to get into that mindset personally. So it just caused a lot of fighting among the fan base, and that's the thing I'm going to miss the least about it, because every time his name came up, I did a really big groan and thinking, oh no, here we go. There's going to be a lot of fighting among fans again and all that nonsense that I can't be bothered to deal with. But the fact of the matter is, Donald had to go, and really, its departure was probably about at least 2 years, maybe 3 years overdue. A lot of things he said that I think he can't come back from is the fact that he said, oh, I'll do this, that, and the other, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And he said he wouldn't outstay his welcome. And the fact of the matter is, he stayed majority shareholder until I think November 2020 or midway through the lockdown season. But at the same time, I think we also took a bit of nuance and balance, because we can't have balance when it comes to Stewart Donald, or we should be able to, in my opinion, is that we conveniently forget how bad the state of the club was when he and Methven first took over. Now, Methven is a tool. He can get lost. Donald can get lost. He needed to go, badly needed to go. But I think, and with Juan Sartori, by the way, things echo my thoughts. I think Juan Sartori's done nothing at the club to warrant the stake that he's put in. Unless he's put money in and done stuff behind the scenes we don't know of, I don't know. But as he seems more interested in politics than actually running Sunderland Association Football Club, who's one of the biggest clubs in the country, that doesn't appear to be the case to me. But I might be wrong. And then, I think ultimately they were a failed regime because we were in League One and we were still in League One when Methven left. I think we were. Actually, no, hang on. Methven might have gone when we got promoted, but it took us getting promoted to the Championship to finally get rid of Methven. You know what I mean? It's a failed regime. I'm just relieved that Donald's gone, and I think for his sake, he needs to get away. Donald's gone. Thankfully, that's happened. It should have happened a long time ago, but yeah, I don't hate him as much as everybody else does. I'm just sick of talking about Stewart Donald, if I'm perfectly honest. But anyway, so Donald's gone. As you said, Juan Sartori, or The Smiler on Netflix anyway, he still remains. KLD, I'm still a bit jury's out on that as well, because I feel like off the pitch there's a lot of things that need improving, and considering KLD's been here for 2.5 years now, I'm a little bit angry that it hasn't been resolved. Like, the state of the stadium, I think it looks a bit tacky. I think it needs a bit of an upgrade or a bit of a clean-up, whatever it is. And the main thing is the customer service side of things, where I think the staff there are criminally underfunded and overworked, and I still don't know how that's been allowed to still be the case. There's a lot of things off the pitch, and Steve Davison needs to be called into question here as well, because that's that needs to be his sort of remit, and somehow this hasn't been resolved yet. But that's by the by. Anyway, the next bit we'll quickly talk about the retained list. This came out at the back end of last week, or as you're watching this, probably a week ago. We had the main, I suppose, Jacob. Right, so the main surprise to me was Jacob Kenny going, but because I thought, as I said in the original video we did, that I felt he would be used as sort of to try and eventually replace Patterson if we sell him. I think you said there was another keeper in the academy, didn't you, that was looking to be claiming that title, shall we say?
Yeah, Adam Richardson for the under 23s. He's supposed to be like really highly like rated, and I think he's going to get promoted to like third choice or second choice. It just depends on what happens, like with Anthony Patterson. Even though deep down and that, no disrespect to Alex Bass, but I don't think Alex Bass should be promoted to number one goalkeeper.
No,
if the team wants to try and like do better like next season. But I think young Richardson's probably going to get promoted to third choice to replace Jacob Kearney.
But I think we can all agree Alex Bass's fee was worth it for the handball goal he scored at St James.
Oh yeah. I love him for that. Now with that, I mean, like, as far as
because even though he's never going to really do anything in that first team, you wouldn't think anyway. At the time of recording, one might be wrong, but at the time of recording, you don't think so. But even if he doesn't, that was still very funny.
Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, with that, I mean, obviously he's not good enough to be your first choice, but because he scored against the Max with under 23s, and that he is the best second choice goalkeeper in the championship. I don't care what anyone says. He's the best second choice goalkeeper in the championship.
I love it.
I love you, Alex Bass. I love you for what you did.
I love you, Bass. I love you. Oh, do you remember when Jam Sonny did the video when he goes like, Luke, I love you. Luke, it was Accrington. Luke, I love you. It's like, Alex, I love you. Bass, I love you. Love you, Bass. Love you, Bass. He scores a goal.
I'll take back what I said.
Yeah. The main departure from the core first team players that we probably expected, but we have to quickly mention, is Carl Winchester. For me, I imagine you'll probably echo what I'm about to say here, but worst players in the club's history, absolutely horrendous. No, okay. If we're being serious, I think Carl Winchester was one that was unlikely to make the step up to the championship in the eyes of the club anyway. But when we signed him in League One, I think he was a solid enough player, gave his all, and I think he leaves with the best wishes of pretty much should leave with the best wishes of every Sunderland fan, or at least most of them. But one of the best things I want to quickly mention, and I forgot to mention it last time, but I'm going to remember it this time, is when he went to Shrewsbury, and Shrewsbury's admin did a Shaun of the Dead clip where it goes like, here's the plan. Grab Wiz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for all this to blow over. And of course, it's grab Liz, take Winchester, have a nice cold pint and wait for all this to blow over. As a big fan of Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, I love that guy. I appreciated that. And if any of the admin at the club leave, like the social media admin, can we get Shrewsbury's, please? Because he's really funny, or she. But yeah, Carl Winchester, wish him the best of luck. I think most League One clubs would be delighted to have him.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I agree with all that. I mean, I think I said this before as well, that wasn't sure when we first signed him. Didn't really set the world alight, but there was a promotion campaign where he really stood out, playing out position as well, like a right back, right centre back a couple of times as well.
Yeah, we mentioned that. Yeah.
But yeah, when he was fit, he was easily a contender for like player of the season, like he really was. And that's a shame he got injured near the end of that. But yeah, great servant, give his all. And yeah, wish him all the best. And like you says, any League One, and that should be like grateful to like taking that, because he definitely did a good job in that division.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, and again, I've got nothing. I mean, like we've said loads of times. I mean, we mentioned it when, if you look at the first season of Sunderland Till I Die, it demonstrates this. We had a lot of players who couldn't give two hoots about the badge. Not enough of them, in my opinion, which is the main reason we got relegated. Not because the squad wasn't good enough, but at the same time, I think when you look at that, Carl Winchester gave a hoot. I mean, he was one that was wanting to die for the cause, and it's the typical stuff that you want to see from a player when they don the Sunderland badge. And yeah, I've got now but good things to say about him. I think it's just a shame, really, for him, unfortunately, that again he's kind of in the mold of, say, Chris. Not in terms of attitude or position, but in terms of someone like Chris Maguire, where they probably wouldn't have come to Sunderland if we hadn't dropped into League One to begin with. But
yeah,
obviously now we need to be moving away from players like Carl Winchester. But again, it doesn't mean we can't appreciate what he did. I think. And wherever he goes to, I think he's probably bigger than Shrewsbury, if I'm being honest. I think he could probably do a job at the top end of League One, maybe like one of the relegated teams, like maybe a Wigan, because they like to sign ex-Sunderland players. So I could see him going there if they can get the wage thing sorted.
Top seven. He's like a top seven, like League One player.
Do you mean top six?
Oh, top six. Right, either way.
Yeah, I was going to say because top six, but yeah, I think he's a playoff challenge. I think he's definitely a top end League One player. And we'll wait and see where he goes to. Right. So the last bit of this, as we look back at the season, we both said in the first video, or did we? Go and check it out. We may or may not have said that we thought it was in general a very good season. But what this does now, in the light of, and especially with now we know who's coming down: Southampton, Leicester, and Leeds. The league will be tough next season. But as I keep reiterating, just because those clubs have the parachute money doesn't mean they're going to walk the league. It doesn't mean they're going to come down and find it easy. I think people need to remember that. It will be tougher, don't get me wrong. And obviously, clubs coming up from League One, you've got Plymouth, you've got Ipswich, and one of Barnsley or Sheffield Wednesday at the time of recording. It's going to be a tough league next year. But with how we did this season, with all the injuries, we finished in the top 6 without a centre-back in the end, and with only one player you could count or not count as a striker. I think expectations are increased next season, and I think rightly so. And one thing you mentioned, both off air and the last time we tried to record all this, was the interview with Christian Speakman. And there was a quote he mentioned that I want to quickly touch upon, when he said, no one's going to be, it was something along the lines of, we're not going to be happy with playoffs. No one's going to be happy with playoffs. We want a squad that's going to be more or less challenging at the top end of the league. Yeah, that suggests to me internally. Yeah, so do I. I think internally that shows that they initially, when we got promoted a year ago, they had a 5-year plan from the moment that KLD came in and Speakman all that came in to get back to the Premier League. How well we did last year looks like it's accelerated that and brought it forward a little bit. So it looks to me like we're actually aiming to go for promotion, even if we don't achieve it, but aiming for it. And for me, that's a good thing. And I think it should show we might see a bit more investment, especially if Donald's gone now, because they might have had a committee sort of thing where everyone has to put a certain amount of money in, and Donald, of course, didn't have the money. So it might be now that we might see, well, I'm hoping anyway, that KLD proves me wrong and that we actually see a bit more cash being put into it. But yeah, what's your thought? Well, first of all, to sort of come across the end of my long-winded waffle, how do you feel going into the summer, and how's your hopes and expectations for next season?
Well,
as it stands right now, obviously.
Yeah, obviously because of what I saw last season, and because of, obviously, proof is in the pudding, and that. I'd say, talk the talk of that, but will they walk the walk? Hopefully, like they do. But for what's been said so far, it does get you optimistic and very excited going into next season. The fact that they are going to try and push to do better than 6th place, and that, which is very promising. So, because obviously that's exciting. But as for like goals and ambitions next season, for me, I want to try and do better. Obviously, that's the thing of that. I know I haven't always been like Christian Speakman's biggest fan, but if
you did come round to him a bit, mine, before you left YouTube. I will put that out there.
Yeah. I did to an extent, yeah. But if we are going to challenge near the top, if that's what they want to do and stuff, then fair enough. I would be happy with just like top 6 again. Personally, I would. But
I would be, yeah.
But an improvement on last season would be something like, for me, like 5th or 4th. And that, I think I'll be okay. But I think minimum expectation has got to be top 6. Worst case, you miss out on that, which is not the end of the world if it was like 7th or something and that. But like minimum's got to be top 6. But anything better than 6th place is another successful season, in my opinion. So yeah.
Yeah, I think for me the minimum is matching what the finish we had this season. So basically, at least finish 6th. If you offered me finishing 6th again now, I probably would take it. As long as we actually had a chance of winning the playoffs, not with a half-truck team. Which isn't a fault of the players, by the way, because they gave everything. But like the fact of the matter is, we had half our team available, and I stand by it. Having watched bits of the Coventry-Luton playoff final, I genuinely believe that if we had a fully fit squad available, we would have won the playoffs. Because I think Luton just physically wanted it that bit more than we did in the second leg and physically overpowered us. But anyway, as for next season, my expectations are to try and go for more. It might be that the club might think, well, if we aim for top 2, then at least we've got the playoffs to fall back on if we don't quite make it. But again, jumping from 6th this season to 1st or 2nd next season with who's coming down is going to be a pretty big jump. It's going to be a massive ask for me. But at the same time, it doesn't mean we can't do it. Like I said earlier, it doesn't mean that the clubs coming down are going to walk the league just because they have the money. Norwich, and by that logic, Norwich and Watford should have gone up this season. West Brom should have gone up last season, and they didn't. None of them went up. So, and Sheffield United took them the second time to go up. So, I'm excited, but I think to sort of lead into the summer, I'm quite excited with who we can bring in. I'm quite excited for how we can do next season, and it feels nice. I mean, for the last 12 months, I've been in the thank God it's not League One anymore sort of mindset. But I think next season that will start to shift, and eventually we will. And only so long Sunderland can be in the Championship without challenging to go up to the Premier League. Which, let's be honest, without sounding arrogant, I don't care if you think it is arrogant. I don't think it is. The Premier League's where we belong. We don't deserve to be there at the minute, but the club, in terms of history, size, stadium size, fan base, everything, the facilities, everything, it's Premier League standard, and it should. Well, maybe not the stadium at the minute, but like in general, it's Premier League standard, and that's where we need to be. So for me, within the next season or two, we need to be getting promoted.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was just going to touch on there. Like for me, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, I think we've got to be pushing. Obviously, we've got to be pushing to do better. But I don't think next season is absolute. We've got to get promoted, or that's it.
I agree with that, mind. I agree with that. Yeah.
But for me, if it doesn't happen next season, I think it's got to happen the season after. In my opinion, it has to.
Spot on for me. Yep, I agree with that. I think if you don't go up, I don't necessarily expect to get promoted next season. I expect to go for it, but I don't. Yeah. Sorry, I don't necessarily expect to do it. But if we don't go up next year, then the year afterwards, I do. I think because I said, and I remember you saying this to you when we did our end of season show last year, that I thought 5 years in the Championship before we get back to the Premier League, as in to really be ready to go to the Prem. But now I've cut that down to 3 seasons, including the one that's just finished. Because I think the league isn't as good as I thought it was going to be, and B, I think we've got the players for it now. I think we've got the players to mount another challenge to try and go up next year. But we shall see. And the final thing, before we end it, is thoughts going into the summer. Because it's nice for me, even in general, it's nice for once to be excited instead of being thankful the season's finished, instead of dreading another League One season. Yeah.
Actually, just before I touch on that, Michael, I didn't actually mention this the last time we tried recording that, but here's a little omen for you. The last time Sunderland didn't make it to Wembley when we finished in the playoffs, what happened the next season?
I know what you're going to say here. When they lost in the semis to Lincoln, they won the playoffs a year afterwards. Well, here's another quick little omen that might mean absolutely nothing, but I'll try it anyway. Yeah. Last year, Luton finished in the exact same position we did, lost in the semis, finished 6th, lost in the semis. What happened the year afterwards? Won the playoffs. Sunderland this year finished 6th, lost in the semis. Let's see if that omen continues.
I'll tell you something. If we actually did finish third next season with how hard that league is, and that third place would be absolute. Even if we didn't actually do it, finishing third next season with how hard the league's going to be would be a great achievement. It would.
I think it would be. I think to a degree, finishing in the top 6 to a small extent would be an achievement because it's going to be a very tough division. But at the same time, I think I don't know. I think the name Sunderland still should be a pulling power for players.
Yeah, should be.
So we'll have to wait and see how we deal with that in the summer. But how nice is it to be excited for a change?
Yeah, it is, and that. I mean, also the fact that I know this used to frustrate the hell out of us and that, but we were quite slow to getting business done last season, which obviously did wind me up a little bit sometimes. But going by Speakman's interview and that, which I did like the interview, to be fair with that. Like I said, he did. I have warmed to Speakman a little bit more than that. I'm still a little bit skeptical in certain areas, particularly the whole maybe a little bit arrogance with the whole striker situation a little bit. But
I'll give you a bit of leeway on that. Yeah, some of his comments about that were a bit funny.
Yeah, but I did like the whole interview. The fact that he says that we want to try and make some early moves in the window. That we want to try and get business done as early as possible. Now, as we're recording and that, I know it's not done yet, but I know Bellingham should be done potentially this week, and that maybe. And
yeah, just a heads up. If Bellingham is signed before this goes out, at the time of recording, he hasn't signed yet, but it looks quite likely.
Yeah. And I know that there's a few others, and that. I mean, I think I mentioned. I can't remember if I actually mentioned this to you when we were trying to record or fair in that. But if you haven't seen Terry's The Man Mistakes video, he mentioned about a Portuguese striker was in the building or something on Saturday, I think it was. So I don't know if there's anything to go by that. So, but I'm excited, definitely excited, and if Sunderland have a really good transfer window, better luck with injuries and that, I think we're going to have an even better season.
Well, here's hoping to that. And it's well overdue that we have something to shout about, by the way, because we've had nothing but crap or shite for the last 20, well, probably since the Peter Reid 2-7 place finish Premier League years, really. But anyway, that's it, guys. That's the second part of our two-part end of season special, providing this actually is not going to be awkward and actually goes up. But thanks very much, Thane. If you guys are, we talked off there, and Thane's basically not going to be coming back to YouTube on a full-time basis, but I'm going to try and see if I can persuade him to do like occasional videos with us on this channel. And maybe we might, if you want to see him back, maybe we'll do a sort of pre-season special for next year, like I said, say for like a week before the season starts or whatever else, and then we'll sort of talk ahead to the 23-24 championship. Thank God it's not League One season. But anyway, guys, as I say before, trying to get a 5k subs, and 58% of people who watch aren't subscribed. So if you think I've earned a subscription, hit the like button and subscribe. And thanks very much for watching. And Thane, thanks very much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure, mate. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having us on.
No worries. And hopefully, good things in the near future. Promotion to the Premier League. We shall see. Take care, everyone. See you later.